Labor Day's over. The general election season's begun. Welcome to This Week in Missouri Politics. We are joined today by the State Treasurer of the great state of Missouri, Vivek Malek. Vivek, welcome back to the show.
Thank you, Scott.
Congratulations on your huge victory in the primary. It had to feel good.
It did feel good, and I would commend you because back in April of 2023, you kind of predicted that Missouri might be ready for an Indian American to be elected. And I worked hard at that.
The truth is, I'm not sure that they would be ready for an Indian American. I think they're ready for you. I think you went out and earned it. And I want to ask you about that campaign. It was a fascinating campaign to me. Everybody has advisors. You have some of the best advisors in the state politically. They know things. There had to be an internal discussion, though, because you're an Indian American. Your name is Vivek. Maybe to change your name on the ballot to Vic. Maybe not to put your picture on things. You went the exact opposite. You were completely authentic, never changed your name, didn't put in quotations. You put your picture on every single thing. Billboards, pile of mailers, I kind of kept them because it was interesting to watch. The internal discussions of that campaign, somebody had to have the idea to do some of that stuff, but you didn't do any of that.
We did have those discussions, and look, you have to be transparent to your voters, to Missourians. You cannot represent your folks if you are not authentic. And I wanted to be authentic, and that it was all up to the voters what they decide. And we did work very hard for that 1.5 years in both official capacity and politically as well. I traveled putting about 80,000 miles on my personal vehicle, and additionally on the state vehicle for state things, covering over 95,000 miles across the state. But I am
big
grateful.
Old state, ain't it?
It is. And I'm grateful that I got this opportunity because of Governor Parson, who put me in this position where I was able to go to every nook and corner of the state and meet with a lot of good people across the state. I covered about 96 counties during these tours, and some counties multiple times. And I was welcomed by everyone with very open heart, open arms, and with a very open mind. And that was very refreshing to me. So all that narrative, what we were hearing on the Capitol, on the High Street here, was very different from what my personal experience had been.
There's a narrative pushed by the media out of St. Louis and Kansas City, or even national media. The Republicans, the Republican voters are these bigoted, awful people that would never vote for someone that's not exactly like them. I thought it was a good thing for this state, a good thing for this party that you not only won, and there at the end, it got nasty. All the attacks folks thought would came kind of in a rush there at the end. Didn't seem to bother you at all. You won a very competitive four-way race with a huge majority.
And I am very glad that we kept our race very positive. We were respectful to everyone, even
you might have, but I mean, you had to see what they were texting, put on the internet. All the darkest parts of that I think folks, I understand why they did it. It has a history of working in this party. But it did not work in August.
No, and I would give that credit to other voters, which are smarter than what we think here on the High Street. And I still go back to what President Reagan said, that people may think whatever, but our Republican Party is much wider than what we believe and what is perceived. And there are all sorts of people. As long as you have shared values, you will be accepted and you will be propelled. And I am a firm believer of that, what President Reagan said, and I think there are all sorts of Republicans. As long as you have shared values, you are part of the whole big family. And I am happy that I have done my contribution, will continue to build up the party that we are, the great party we are in the state, bringing in, making the tent bigger for everybody, and bringing those conservative values from all different parts of the state, from all ethnicities and from all backgrounds.
I think you've been an extremely effective messenger of the conservative message because you're a positive person. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I think as a party, the Republicans can get both parties, when you have these extremes kind of running things, it becomes shrill. It's the kind of thing you wouldn't really want to say with any of those people. I thought you've done a great job on issues like immigration. You've been a happy warrior. You've been somebody that can go persuade other folks to maybe that don't view things the way we do, to give a second look, to maybe come a little closer to our side. The immigration issue is one you raised in the campaign and took on directly. I thought it was a compelling message as a person who's immigrated to America. I thought when I heard you talk about it, it made sense to me that someone went through the arduous process of becoming a U.S. citizen. I'd be a little ticked off too. Somebody just walks around the fence.
Absolutely. I mean, I came to this country as an international student, not speaking conversational English when I came in 2001, and learning my way, learning English, and then working hard, earning my citizenship in 16 years from the time I entered the country. So for me, it felt like a slap on my face, and for everybody else who migrated just like me legally, that you can just open the border, anybody can enter, and the federal government would give them all these work documents and stuff, and in a matter of time, 2 years to 5 years, they can become permanent residents and citizens. I think, what is the incentive for people to do it legally? Sure. So I said, and with my practice of immigration law, I have helped thousands of people who came here legally to become naturalized citizens and be proud of that citizenship, that they value that and learn that through hard work. And for me, that was the message that I was trying to convey. And a lot of people criticize me, like, what the treasurer's job is going on the border and advocating that. I see the reason very clearly, twofold. One, it is very personal to me. As I just explained, it took me long 16 years to become a U.S. citizen. I'm very proud of that, as I earned it. And second, as a treasurer, I am the one who is writing those checks for all these agencies which are providing services. If you have illegals coming to the state, I think every state is a border state, and our cost of those services goes up, whether it is education, whether it is healthcare. And that money is coming from taxpayers' pocket, and that's a pinch on the pocket for Missourians. So I am not in favor of any illegal immigrants getting those benefits if they're coming to the state. And if you are not giving those benefits, that will stop them from coming to that state. And that's why my message was strong on the border.
I tell you, it had to be, I spoke to the governor personally, how tremendous would it be if you're Mike Parson. And not only did every single person you've appointed these statewide offices be affirmed by the voters and elected to them for full terms, or even in some cases elected to higher office like the United States Senate. But I really thought that Andrew Bailey, yourself, and Mike Kehoe, you hustled this state. You can honestly say, as an observer, you went to the most places, met the most actual people. They all did the fundraising and all that too. But the three of you that were appointed by Governor Parson, I don't think it's any coincidence. You're the three that actually traveled to the most parts of this state and touched people and looked in their eye.
And absolutely, that is a validity of Governor Parson's leadership, that what he did in the last 6 years for the state and picked the right folks for these leadership positions, that they have succeeded in their endeavors, whether it is to the U.S. Senate, whether it's the auditor's office, or to these three offices that we ran after getting appointed. Kehoe had already ran a race for LG before. But again, it is a testament to his leadership, and I am grateful that I got that opportunity through him.
Let's talk about the fall campaign. Mark Osmak, good candidate. I would say probably the top down ballot Democrat running is Mark Osmak from the St. Louis area, running against you. Been a little critical of the ESA program, a little critical of some other stuff. But there is a difference in having a Republican or a Democrat in that office.
I think there is a big difference because the difference on fundamentals. He is very much vehemently opposed to the Most Scholars program, which I support greatly, because I understand the argument from the public schools, but there is no dollar amount that we are taking away from the public schools. Second, there are schools in the rural areas which are fine, work great for those folks, public schools, and this program is not going to impact those schools. This program is impacting those school districts, like inner schools, St. Louis inner school districts, which are not performing, where the kids are failing, they're not able to read at the grade level, and it has been consistently what we have seen. Now, the other side comes back about funding issues. We have seen funding in St. Louis City, enormous amount, and we have scams going on too in St. Louis City with all that. But
hard to defend the St. Louis City schools.
Absolutely. So how do you now? The argument is, okay, you want to help the schools, but how do you help the students? There has been not a pathway given by the Democrats how they can help the students. If this is an option where students can go to a good school of their choice and succeed, why not offer that? So that is one of the fundamental differences. Then again, the second difference is about investments. I stopped investments of Mosher's or retirement systems, especially Mosher's, in China, which is an overseas.
That was a fight.
It was a
thought
fight.
that might be some simplistic thing to do. You had to really dig in the trenches and fight for that one.
Well, Senator Rizzo was very critical about me that this is a political ploy, but I said, no, it's not a political ploy. See what happened with Russia. We tanked our investments in Russia when Russia decided to invade Ukraine. And what if all the intelligence is today suggesting that China is going to attack Taiwan? And if that happens, what happens to our investments in China? It's a legitimate question. And my question to all the board members at Mosers was, would you invest your money in China today in the given circumstances? And if you say yes, then I'll withdraw my motion. And nobody said yes. So if you are not willing to invest your dollar in China, why would you have your retirees' money invested in China? Very simple, basic, fundamental question.
Treasurer Malek, thank you so much for joining us. Congratulations on your win. Hope you'll come back as the fall campaign unfolds and talk about it here on This Week in Missouri Politics.
Thank you very much, Scott. We'd always love to.
We'll be right back. We got Don Mayhew on the show. It's going to try to be tough, but I'm going to try to fish an opinion of Don after this.
For more than a century, the St. Louis Carpenters Union has shaped our communities. Through trusted alliances, we deliver skilled professional craftspeople while our business partners provide the kind of quality jobs that keep our economy humming. It's a blueprint that has worked since 1882. Turning Missouri into a right-to-work state stalls progress, wipes out jobs, and kills momentum. Right to work is wrong for everyone. Let's keep Missouri moving forward. Visit carpdc.org to learn more.
You know, Missouri farmers have been doing what's best for their land for generations. After all, no one knows what it takes to feed and fuel a growing global population better than they do. So why are trial lawyers threatening Missouri farmers' best defense against weeds? Our farmers don't need to be controlled. They need to be supported. Keep glyphosate in our state. Show your support at TakeControlMissouri.com. Paid for by Modern Ag Alliance in support of Missouri farmers.
Data captured by our state-of-the-art monitors helps us pinpoint the timing and location of severe weather more accurately and respond to trouble more quickly. Ameren Missouri's investment in smart technologies like this is one way we're improving reliability and restoring power faster than ever. Responding to trouble before trouble hits. That's energy at work. Ameren, Missouri.
Welcome back this week in Missouri Politics. Opinion Maker panel time. Representative Don Mayhew. Labor Day's over. The campaign season's begun, right?
Yeah.
I like it. Representative Rudy Veit here in Cole County, Wardsville, right? The Wardsville
home of
Warriors.
Falcons, and Jeff City, home of Goliath, and other schools.
How many boxes you going to check them all?
Wow. It is an election year, right? So.
Sharon Jones, welcome back to the show. Thank you for the time.
Honor as always.
And I was so excited about this. Ryan Silvey coming back, doing an Opinion Maker panel. Thank you for the time, sir.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
It's got his royal blue on.
Gotta keep that winning way alive.
I'm not even going to go there. My heart's just hurting. Let's talk about some folks. Going to be a big fight. I saw a big bunch of money come in Amendment 3, the amendment that would make abortion legal again in the state of Missouri. Mm-hmm. Let's talk about first of all, the chances of it passing. They put $4 million in. I've seen a campaign get started. I've seen some yard signs out, no on 3. But, I mean, the pro-choice side clearly looks like they're coming to play.
Well, without a doubt. I mean, we can see that with other initiative petitions that have passed in the past, or there's a lot of money thrown at a particular thing to describe it in a certain way. I think in reality, we can all agree, I believe, that late-term abortion shouldn't be allowed. And yet, my understanding of Amendment 3 is that exactly what it allows.
You're an attorney. There's a lot of folks that'll tell you Amendment 3 does a lot of things. I wouldn't pretend to be able to tell you who's right, but I do think there's a pent-up frustration, and not just Missouri, other states that felt like the abortion laws, once Roe versus Wade was overturned, were too restrictive.
Well, we, as legislators, if we don't like the amendment, it's our own fault, because had we done our job and came up with some reasonable one dealing with life of the mother, maybe rape and incest, I think they would have taken out of sales and the amendment would probably not have passed. But we didn't do our job, and now we're dealt with what initiative petitions give us.
Ryan, you had to deal with this when you were in the Senate. People on abortion have no sense. I'm not sure either side has any sense. It is one of those issues where there's no compromise. It is interesting, though. And really, as you left the Senate, this went to another level. When Roe versus Wade was overturned, it went bigger. The pro-life side, I mean, you can tell the pro-abortion side is ready to go. They're funding their campaign. They're organized. The pro-life side spends conservatively 95% of their time screaming at other pro-life people for not being pro-life enough. Are these folks ready for the fight they're about to take on this fall?
No, I don't think they are at all. I think we've seen in recent history a lot of these initiative petitions succeed on the money that's being spent and then on the groundswell of support that led to it in the first place. Like Rudy said, if the legislature had addressed it in a way that the public was comfortable with, you wouldn't have this.
Sharon, we watched it. It's been, if you're a pro-life person, you had to feel like this has been coming for some time. When you saw it in Texas, you saw it in Ohio, you saw it pass, it boggled my mind that they didn't see this is what was going to happen if it wasn't addressed. Now that nobody addressed it, it's here. I have to say, is there a case to be made that the favorites in this election aren't on the pro-choice side?
I mean, here's what I'll say. I think that there are a lot of people south of I-44 who care deeply about abortion and think there should be a 100% ban. Will this turn them out? Will this turn them out? And will they get all the way down to that part of the ballot? That's the question. I don't think this is a slam dunk for the pro-choice folks, and I think that's why you're seeing the energy and you're seeing them work so hard. They're not taking it for granted. But
I mean, if you're on the pro-choice side of this argument, and you look across the battlefield, the pro-life folks, I mean, it looks like they'd much rather punch another pro-life person than go talk to a pro-choice person. I mean, if you had to ask them what's going to make you happier, writing on Facebook that another pro-life person isn't as pro-life enough, or actually talking to a pro-choice person, they take the Facebook attack every time.
Yeah. And look, I'm not trying to steal thunder from my rural representatives over there, but pigs get fat, hogs get slaughtered. And we may be about to see that come true.
All right, let's talk what this does. You've actually won a swing district a couple times. There's an election in parts of your old district. It's got a little bit more Democrats. It's got closer to the river. I do think that this is going to impact some of these close suburban races. I don't think it changed anything in outstate Missouri. I don't think any statewide election is going to be, you're not going to look back and say this is a real big factor. But boy, you could draw that line around St. Louis from the river all the way down, maybe to Arnold, possibly, then in Kansas City. Your old Senate district, you draw that line maybe down to Cass County. I think this is going to make a difference in some of these races.
Yeah, I think you're right. And you'll see that effect in down ballot, or I guess up ballot, because it's an initiative petition. But yeah, this is an issue that people in the suburbs care about. They don't talk about a lot. It's kind of private to them. Like when I remember going normal people don't. No, I remember going door to door. Abortion is not something that came up all the time going door to door. Abortion comes up when you're dealing with, certain interest groups or certain, groups of people that have made that their issue, but just rank and file average everyday voters, like it's private to them and they're going to vote their conscience. And I think it will have an effect.
Veit, I think your caucus is going to be a little smaller than the one that's at veto session this week when you come back in January, and probably because of this issue.
Well, it is going to affect some areas of votes, and that by bringing people out, and then those that come out generally are going to vote Democratic, I think, and it's going to be a factor, but we will survive.
Don, I mean, if you were talking to somebody, we had lunch talking about Jerry Nolte. Jerry Nolte has an uphill climb. That district is served by Lauren Arthur.
Yeah,
it's been trending more Democrat.
Yeah.
This makes his fall hard, right? Doesn't make it easy.
Certainly not. But as we talked about, there's a lot of other issues out there that people are a lot more concerned about. I think it was said even earlier. How will folks vote when they get into a ballot box with a secret ballot? Well, they may vote one way on a particular ballot issue, but pretty much they're gonna stick with their strength on the people they send up here to represent them. I think there's a lot of reasons why people would vote for the Republicans down ballot, and I think that's what we're going to see is perhaps it does win. But those Republican candidates in those areas, it will be a tight race, but I think they'll win.
With like Maggie Nernberg, terrific candidate, works hard. This is a tailwind for her.
Oh,
it makes her life a little easier. I see his point. I've watched a lot of times, though. These things get on the ballot, whether it's right to work, minimum wage, whatever it is, and folks will vote for the issue, maybe on the more liberal side, and then they'll come back and vote Republican. The only difference in this is actually on the November ballot. Yeah. These others were August ballots. I do think that probably makes some difference, right?
I think it does, and I think you pointed out very wisely that it depends on where you are in the state. I think in Maggie's district, it's going to make a huge difference. I think if you're looking, in some of the more rural areas, it's going to actually help the Republicans get a better turnout than they would.
Let me ask you about a district that's very interesting, a unique district. It's Senator Koenig's district, right? Yeah. David Gregory, Joe Peerless. Joe Peerless, terrific recruit. Mm-hmm. David Gregory, very talented politician. If you were looking for a place for this to change, I think Maggie is the favorite in Clay County to start with. This might help her a little. But if you go over to Chesterfield and you look at that district, that's a district where I think they might care about abortion, and it's not going to be helpful to David Gregory.
I think that's right. I think that's the exact kind of suburban area where you've got a lot of people with higher education. You've got a lot of people that understand nuance in a way that maybe more rural folks don't think about abortion in that sort of nuanced way.
Most people I know don't talk about abortion at dinner.
Well, true. But I mean, I think that exception happens when you're in those suburban areas, especially amongst women. Because they do.
Talk about it now that the law changed, like Roe versus Wade. I don't think all these little laws the state passed, I don't know that regular people sit and analyze them. But Roe versus Wade is something that everybody saw and thought about for a minute.
I will say this. I have a lot of friends because I am in the age group where people are having babies. I've had a lot of friends over the last 2-3 years that have been pregnant, had children. They talk constantly about their fears. Several of them have had preeclampsia and have had to go into the hospital for the last month of their pregnancy. And every single time, I had one friend who ended up having a baby that was in the ICU for 110 days because they had to induce her so early, because the options were, we induce you now, we hope this baby lives, or you have to make a choice about whether it's you or your baby. And those kinds of conversations are happening. And it's not necessarily about abortion, but it's about when I'm in a hospital bed with my, husband, spouse, partner, whatever, beside me and my family around me, and I'm having to make this decision. Do I have a full suite of decisions? And I think that's the conversation women are having.
I think Republicans don't want Sharon Jones being the public. Does this pass, and if so, by how much?
So I don't think it passes.
You think Amendment 3 goes down?
I think it goes down, and for all of the things that we just discussed, the reality is that this is going to drive voter turnout on both sides of the issue. And now it is time for those conservatives who firmly believe that we've got the right law on the books, which, by the way, does protect the mother's health, and so the mother's life. And so,
what's that win by? You talking about 51-49?
I would say it's going to be close because of all of the things that we talked about. Those suburban areas will turn out to vote for that. But the truth is that we have typically on these ballot initiatives in the rural areas, we don't have very high voter turnout on those issues. I'll just give you one example. There was, if 8 counties that voted less than 40%, if they had voted just what they normally do in a presidential race, then the marijuana ballot would have failed. And all they had to do was show up to vote.
And I think that's good at math, I'll tell you. What happens on Amendment 3? Is it pass or not?
I don't think it'll pass. I've talked to a number of pollsters about it. I've talked to family, people that have voted Republican their whole lives and are even, I won't name it, but actually went to the March for Life. I think we went too far, and there's some of those decisions they want left up to the mother and the doctor.
What happens on it?
I think it fails by less than 1%.
Wow. What do you think?
I actually think it's going to pass 51.
I think it'll be 55-45. I think it'll pass.
Yeah.
I think there'll be some Republicans swept out of office because of it.
I think that the suburbs and the cities are going to show up for it.
Let's talk about this governor's race. Yeah. Crystal Quaid, somebody you served with. You have had the beneficiary of listening to many, many hours of her speeches.
Oh yeah.
You may be one of the most informed voters in the state. Mike Kehoe, he knows exactly where Pulaski County is. He doesn't just know where Waynesville, he knows where Dixon is. Running against her, how do you see the race?
So Mike wins that by 20 points at least.
20?
Yeah, probably 25.
Well, the margin for, I believe, Nicole Galloway, Parson won by 17 points. Now, to me, that's a little bit of an advantage of being an incumbent at the time. I don't know. I think 20 points might be aggressive. You think 20?
For sure 20.
Wow. Rudy? Cole County, Mike Kehoe could be emperor.
He could be everywhere there's a sign for him, and you've seen the voters that turn out in our primaries, what our rate was. We had areas of Cole County turned out 47% voter rate.
They wanted a Mike Kehoe deal.
And here he's solid, but I think he's solid statewide, and I don't care if it's 5% or 30%. All I care about is that once he's in, as Republicans, we get behind him as a Republican, and that'd be our theme.
Even in St. Charles, you think they'll get behind him? I'm just kidding. Of course they won't. Ryan Silvey, I do think, obviously any Democrat on the ballot is going to be at a major disadvantage. But I think Crystal Quaid passes the test if she could do the job. She's qualified. She's going to run a legitimate campaign. I think the abortion issue is going to help her. I think she cuts into the margin that Partisan beat Galloway by.
I don't know. Mike's a strong candidate. He's a very pragmatic guy. He's got a strong record. I think you're going to see him equal or improve on what Parsons' margin was over Galloway.
I think she cuts into it, but maybe not that much, but she cuts into the margin Galloway lost. What do you think?
I think she gets 45.
Which would cut into it. What do you think?
Yeah, I just don't think she does. I mean, Galloway had the advantage of being elected statewide, and people had seen her name before.
Yeah.
If you're outside of Springfield, if you're outside of Springfield, I mean, as good of a representative as she has been for the area, you don't know who Crystal Quaid is.
I think Bill Ike learned that even amongst Republican primary voters. He won the St. Louis media market, but that was it, where he's from.
Exactly. So when you have regional candidates running against statewide candidates, it's a very uphill battle.
With the minute left, Mayhew, who won the week?
Well, the Tigers did. They broke into the top 10.
I mean, with an exclamation point, right?
Yeah.
All right, people that have been Tigers fans for a long time, do you get a little nervous to get too much on the bandwagon, or do you just believe in Drinkwitz?
Well, we haven't hit the conference schedule yet, so
Rudy,
I'm an optimist, though.
I love it. Who won the week?
My one of the week is a little more local. Is Lincoln University and Boys and Girls Club joining together to take a home that was not being used for anything and turn it to aftercare for up to 70 children. And that's a big deal here. Everybody needs aftercare at schools and that.
Absolutely. Who won the week?
I'm going to say labor unions and everyone who likes weekends. Happy Labor Day.
Yeah, we had a hummel on the midweek update. It was outstanding.
Yeah.
Who won the week?
America. The NFL is back. The Chiefs are on the march for their third consecutive Super Bowl championship.
What an amazing thing.
America wins.
Did you ever think in your life you'd be sitting here, looking at a decent Royals team, and it's not been 30 years since the last one, and the Chiefs on the way to a three-peat? It's a good time being Kansas City.
I mean, it's unbelievable. As I told you many times growing up, like, they had won Super Bowl, and it was before I was born. If you would have told me 10 years ago that they would win 3 in my life, I would have been thrilled, let alone 3 out of 4.
Be ready to die.
And going for 3 in a row. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy.
Rudy, I got to ask you one more question. There was a football game, and I liked my friend Jim Badgley to just kind of pay attention here, United Electric Club. There was a football game between Maryville and Blair Oaks last week, right? What was the score of that game?
Well, I think something like 61-12, but we were backing off and playing ball second string. Blair Oaks was.
Well, it was nice of them to give them the 12. I think Jim might owe me a Bud Light over this. So I'm going to say I won the week, but I will be in one serious thing. Vernon County, you rejected goofiness, you rejected extremism. Vernon County is a long way from St. Charles County. You proved that with your new county committee and your slate of elected officials. I say Vernon County won the week. Hope you'll win the week next week by joining us here for our veto session edition of This Week in Missouri Politics.
This Week in Missouri Politics is sponsored by the Missouri Automobile Dealers Association, Ameren, Spire, and the United Electric Cooperative.